I've never been single digit on unread text messages. It always just like sits there. And like this morning, I woke up and it was 58, and that freaked me out. Dude, what the hell?
I've been in the thousands, man.
Like text messages?
I got 341.
Oh shit!
It's just stupid. It's stupid.
That's quite the number.
It's just a bunch of stupid group texts that I look at. You know,
I get angry when I look down and have like 18 unread. I'm like, oh my god,
I'm not reading them.
Yeah.
I open it so it just erases. I don't even go scroll through.
I think the best feature Apple added was the ability to mark it unread. I know I did that. Like, huge. Now I just do that all the time. It's like, oh shit, like I can't deal with this right now, so I'm going to mark it unread. I'll be back.
I used to not read it if I knew it was important for that purpose.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to.
Or you would just pull down from and like, like,
get the gist of it.
You do the, you would hold it on the notification and it would expand, but then it wouldn't be open. So like
you get the glimmer.
Yeah.
And then you
let go of it.
Yeah. But
the things we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brooke, what do you want to talk to Tyler about today? Because you're obviously an agent. What do you think we need to couple with him?
Yeah. Or do you want to cover? I mean, there's something specific we have. I wanted to at least jump in at some point and give him a chance to shout out his short-term rental. Property manager.
Are you guys looking to take on doors? Like what?
Yes, we are. Okay. We're looking to scale that.
Don't give us too much. All right. So all right. Save it.
Are we on?
We're always recording.
Yeah.
No,
we can always. We'll just put that.
No.
Go down that route. Talk about dealing with investors. Best practice.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about like being an investor and where I want to go with that, and even back and forth with you guys on like getting some of your feedback and what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to talk about short-term rental market and like thoughts on it. It is somewhat challenging right now. So
you should listen to my episode on the TNH podcast. I was just on the most recent one. I talked about it for like an hour with that.
Short-term
and midterm.
I'll get a listen.
Yeah. Most of them are a little bit above my pay grade, but I dumbed it down for the average investor. So
what's above your pay grade?
TNH. Their podcast, they do like,
really?
So, they got some high level stuff on there. Yeah. They're not drinking bourbon during their podcasts.
Yeah. We're a bunch of doofuses.
Yeah.
That's good. I would be too nervous to do on that one then.
You know what? I had notes. I actually had notes for that one. Like I was ready. I know. It's hard to believe.
When I went on the Indie Investor Pod, I actually had notes. It helped.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had some.
Is that one coming back? Do we know?
I don't think so.
Did?
I think it's.
You guys replaced it.
I mean, we're working on it. We got to get our audio issues resolved. Well, they didn't even try to do it in person. That's the difference. It was all digital.
That was a little easier.
Yeah, if we were all remote, it's super easy. If you're like all in the same room, that's where it gets complicated. So we'll figure it out one of these days. Cool.
Yeah. So I guess we'll dive in. I think episode number 9 of the Indie Investor Speakeasy, coming from another location. We're here at the Golf Nest off Guyon Road. I'm just opened up. One of our buddies just opened up, so we'll have a little interview with him and take you around the place here in a few moments. Hopefully, it's in your home for the speakeasy. It's kind of got a nice little speakeasy vibe, but
in golf,
plenty of golf. I think a lot of us enjoy golf until we get Nick into.
Well, I got the bad die. Help out. I'll watch you guys.
But today we got Tyler Lingle on. Tyler's a really well-known investor agent. He also does a lot of investing himself. Also does a lot of short-term and delving into the short-term property management side, amongst other things. So Tyler,
kind of a master of creative finance too.
Yeah, he's
as I've learned here.
Way too high praise.
Yeah.
But,
Tyler, I'll give you the stage to kind of give us a little bit about your background, what you're doing now, what your focus is on, and what you're seeing in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I started kind of my career, so to speak, after I graduated college, being a teacher. So I taught at a charter school, which was the equivalent of like rolling a massive boulder up a very, very steep hill. Basically impossible to get these students who came from various challenging backgrounds, single mothers, et cetera, just poverty. A lot of them. I was on West 38th Street, actually, and learned a lot about engagement of getting people interested. It's basically selling. I learned a lot about selling, honestly, ideas in that. And once I got kind of sick and tired of the bureaucracy and just being locked in a building all day and being capped and salary-wise, I decided to break out and go into entrepreneurship. And the closest thing there was real estate. So I was renting out my own home, some bedrooms, to just buddies from college. I didn't even know the word house hack or the phrase house hack. I was just doing it intuitively because I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to have someone pay my mortgage. And just so intuitive. So I was doing that. And then there was this like garage area in the back. It's confusing unless you saw it. It was intended to be like a music studio. And it was just like this empty garage like thing with no driveway. And I asked my parents, it's like, hey, if you lend me $20,000, I'll pay you back this return. And so I actually renovated that back area. We hired probably the worst contractor that has ever been on the face of the earth through Angie's List. I mean, the dude was really bad. But anyways, we somehow got that done and then rented out that to another buddy. So on my primary residence in this time, as I was transitioning into real estate, I was cash flowing probably $1,000 a month on my primary, like positive. So I was just like, damn.
While you lived there.
All of there.
Wow. That's incredible.
And mortgages at this time were different, right? That was a $108,000 house. And my mortgage was literally in the 400s. So that same house would be probably $215 today.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot has changed, but I think the principles and concepts are similar, just a little more difficult cash flow wise. But basically had that going and I was like, you know what? This is going well. Let's just ride this wave of real estate. And really didn't look back, got into it. We got some noise coming in. And I got my license and I was like, you know what? I'll try to represent myself. Then realized like, oh, you need money to do that. Let's be an agent. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know what wholesaling is. I don't want to flip a home. Like that sounded really intimidating to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just be an agent because I can answer phone calls. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, really, really somehow good at that. Like the shoe just fit. Like I was in training being an agent. They were like, all right, now you need to make a CRM and contact your. I was already on the phone talking to investors, selling things. Literally like day one, I was just, and I think it was like maybe overconfidence, exuberance, like saying stuff I shouldn't have, but the fake it till I make it into real estate just worked for me. Mm-hmm. And through watching hundreds of other investors do deals as an agent, I was able to be like, cool, this isn't that hard. Let's invest the profits from the agent side myself, which then leads to more sales because they're like, they all want to work with someone who's doing it.
Yeah.
They don't want to work with some, person that's never owned an investment property if they're buying one.
They don't trust you.
They don't trust you. Yeah. So that's just a little bit about how I kind of got into this space, but a lot's happened in not even 3 years. Like it's been a quick run up.
So would you say then that the majority of the people you work with are investors themselves or primary like home buyers for themselves, or what's the makeup for you?
It's a great question. It's one that I think about a lot that most people probably wouldn't be interested because it's kind of personal, but 50-50 is what I shoot for.
Okay.
Because investors, I align when I'm on the phone talking to investors, I'm like, yes, I see eye to eye with you. And I think how you think about real estate, which is how does it make me money?
Yeah.
But that side can be exhausting because it's no emotion. Mm-hmm. Very little. Well, there is emotion, but it's very little emotion. And I might spend hours with this investor and the numbers don't work out and we mutual release and they don't buy something for years. Whereas that owner occupant, you're going to spend hours with them and it's like they have to get it home for their family. So the relational payout is usually greater on the owner occupant side. So having both, because they both can be exhausting. So if I turn from one to the other, it kind of fills my cup in a way.
I think that's a really smart way of going about it because investors are going to be buying when the market is favorable for them too. Whereas a homeowner basically has to have a home at any given point in time. So
any market, someone's going to need a house.
Yes.
And it kind of just keeps those transactions flowing, fills in the gaps, and then focus on your niche when the time's right.
Yeah. The same reason why, wholesalers like you guys have kind of the wholesale and then the whole tail arms of the business is so that you can address address the market as you see it at that point in time. So I think it's a super smart way of going about it.
Yeah, for sure. So what's it look like for you right now on the investors?
It's a good question. Investors right now, I think, are only buying if they see the long-term picture. There is no more 3-4% rates easing the cash flow. So investors, when I started, were all cash flow. I want to make $500 a month. That would be an exceptional deal. I want to make more like $100 to $200 a month per door. That was all the plays I was doing at the beginning. Now the narrative has shifted tremendously. I was one of the first agents, really was my mentor, Rex Fisher, who kind of like pointed this out to me, and I started to see it. And I can share more about what he pointed out to me, but the appreciation game. Indianapolis is undergoing a drastic change in its overall climate and geography and infrastructure as we speak. There's more multi-million-dollar projects in the mile square than there's literally ever been. And I believe we're like one of the fastest growing and developing cities in the nation, and our climate's very favorable to real estate. So I think the wealth generation play right now is that value creation through buying an asset, hopefully discounted, boosting it to its full potential, and then riding that appreciation, and then making the month-to-month pencil out how you can. If you're cash flowing, that's great. That's the cherry on top, though.
Yep.
And investors that understand that are doing really well, and they're still negotiating hard in this winter climate where things are sitting longer. Wholesalers are following up with me a lot right now. Like, hey, do you have a buyer? Are you going to put an offer in? And so you're getting really good deals. It's that get that equity play, get in low, and then sell high when the market is again favoring the sellers really hard for.
So you were just talking about something that I think is interesting, and I think a lot of people would point to kind of realizing the value of a property, buying it discounted as construction, which as the construction guy here, I'm all about that. I love that side of the house, but I think that there are other things, and I'm curious to get your perspective. Other ways of realizing value, such as renting out by the room, short-term rental, mid-term rental. Are there any others that I'm not necessarily thinking about here that the others might be interested in going down?
The only other one that really is sticking out through first-hand experience is I had an owner. I love working with owner occupants that want to be investors. That's really my bread and butter is, hey, I want to be an investor, but I'm renting. Boom, give them to me. I promise, like, we're going to shake things up in a really good way. So I had a guy who wanted to house hack, but he toured a few duplexes and it was like the inventory was stale. The inventory is pretty stale for multifamily, if you ask me. And so he was like, well, I still want a house hack. What do I do? And I was like, dude, basement or mother-in-law suite. We got to go that route because there's so many single family homes on the market. I'm sure we can do this. So he found one with a basement and he drywalled off the basement door, created a separate entrance. He furnished it and he's getting $1,500 a month from that basement unit, and his mortgage at PITI is around $1,500.
That's awesome, man.
So I think like that sort of unique play. Now he's single, so that fits, but you know.
I think everybody here has a wife, has a kid. It's harder to talk them into house hacking once you've got the kid. But when you're young, man, God,
that's the way to go.
If I hadn't basically gotten married at 19 years old, I think I would have house hacked probably 15 times.
I know I would have.
Yeah.
Literally just every year switched. I would have done FHA, then a 5%. They offer 5% conventional.
Yeah.
So I think like with these 5% conventional loans, I don't think we've seen the repercussions from that at all.
No, not yet.
I think multifamily duplexes specifically are going to appreciate a crap ton because everyone now realizes, cool, I can get a conventional loan, 5% down with a pretty good interest rate and buy this thing. I'm getting blown up by people who want to do that. There's not enough inventory for that, honestly, right now.
All right, maybe that I need to reconsider some new build thoughts I had. Maybe I got to turn.
It started. There's literally one builder who's building a lot of duplexes right now, and in good areas, those ARVs, those price points are like 500 plus, and then in like worse areas, I'm seeing them sell for like mid threes. But they're starting to do it, and a lot of them are selling before they even hit the market. So
I'm going to hit you up before I start building in Fishers. I got some plans out there. So we'll have to strategize.
Okay.
We'll have to strategize on that.
Multifamily with Fishers, I think, could tear it up, man.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Owner occupant play, it would tear it up.
All right.
Definitely.
So what else are you doing? Like, I know you've obviously got an investment portfolio for yourself. What are you focusing on right now within your own portfolio?
Yeah, definitely. Right now, I am trying to really go deep into the short-term rental route in Indy, which is kind of a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Indianapolis, kind of the joke is unlimited supply. There's no restrictions.
Yeah.
So you could put 10 of these bad boys on the market and boom, where's your customers, So my thing is, though, if I am the best operator with the most optimized asset, can I still succeed? And I do believe I can. I have some homes that are doing well still. So I'm trying to put together a portfolio of, I have two of those units. One is a unit of a quad that we converted into a short-term rental, and the other is a standalone house. And I would love to have 10 of those units. If I could do that with OPM, other people's money, then I'd be sitting pretty. Yeah. So, and I am. So I was telling you about this, but an investor who will remain nameless, it's kind of, some of you guys know him. He has a bunch of houses that he needs to sell just to get out of some hard money loans. And I said, hey, like, I'm interested, but I don't have the down payment. Will you seller finance me it? And he was like, yes, I'll do it. So I think there's more people willing to do that than people realize. You just have to ask the question and understand what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and he's doing that.
Circling back to what you said earlier, and I think this is a trait that you have that not a lot of people do, is you're not uncomfortable by asking the question. You're not uncomfortable to pick up the phone and start selling. As you were talking about getting started in the real estate game. That's a superpower. Like, don't be annoying with it. Don't continue to push when somebody says no. But don't be afraid to ask the question and say how something looks for you. And who knows, it might just work out for the other side.
I think that's a great point, Nick. And I think that you're also really good at it. And I think it's kind of like that, who the fuck cares, like, mentality of like, what, like, why are we so scared to be bold and say what we want?
Yeah.
If you say it in a way where you're acknowledging their self-interest, but saying, hey, I have a self-interest too, and I think we could do something great together, why would you not? Like, so many people beat around the bush. Like, I think that is a superpower for a lot of any real estates that are listening, or agents, or investors, just being direct. I noticed the best entrepreneurs are very direct about what they're trying to do, but direct about how they can help people too.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. And just, kind of build on what you're saying. In that transaction, you are going to win. You're going to do very well. But the other side didn't lose in that. And you didn't need to like dominate that conversation. There were some ways for you guys to find middle ground, and you found it by being direct about what would make sense for you. But you didn't overstep that line, which I think a lot of people make the mistake of. They get too salesy and push too hard. And I'm sure you guys deal with that so much on the wholesale
we
side.
see it all the time. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, just like, you don't have to kind of talk down to somebody, right? To get your point across, just tell them what your intentions are, how it's going to help them, how it's going to help you. And yeah, in our world, it gets kind of nasty. Yeah.
What are you guys seeing on the wholesale side? I'm curious. I don't really know. I honestly mostly avoid that side of the business because it's just a different lane. Same track, but a different lane than me. I mean, are you guys seeing things sell quickly? Has it been really challenging?
Yeah, I mean, things are still selling quickly. Like, if you're in a like low C class area, it's just because of those price points are so, like, there's so many people that can afford a home that's under $100,000 that they are getting some sort of financing, or if they're sitting on cash or pulling money together if a family's living together. So like that lower C class area still fits a lot of people, and they're still doing fast. For Indianapolis, like, if you talk outside the loop, it's getting a little tough because those homeowners know, like, inventory out there is still a little low, and they, like, no matter what condition their property's in, they're still looking for, like, pretty darn close to retail, where it doesn't make sense for a wholesaler to come in and make any type of spread for an investor or make any money even selling it to, like, a homeowner.
What is your guys' perspective on, I think about this a lot. I've evolved in my thinking on Class C investing.
Mhm.
I started being an agent and investing Class C. More and more, I want to leave it just because it's such a big hassle and like the tenant pool is challenging. And when the market is feast or famine, the famine hits the Class C areas first because they're unappealing, unattractive areas. So do you guys still think Class C? Do you think Class C investing is super viable? Like, or is it like you would want to park money elsewhere? Just curious.
I think it is. I just think it's the lowest barrier.
Yep.
In a sense. So like if you're
Totally.
you're a newer or this is your first investment, you've had the opportunity to make pretty darn good return on these, but like you said, there's going to be some headache involved. So you just got to know that going in.
It's almost like the training ground.
Yes.
It's like you gotta be active.
It's a good place to begin.
Yeah. So the way I like to think about it is there's kind of two continuums that people can go at when they're investing in real estate. There's the ROI side, and then there's the ROTI side. And the way I describe ROI is that's all the cash flow, the loan pay down, the appreciation, the tax benefits, the inflation hedging, all divided by that invested capital. That tends to be the highest there in the C, D class, where you're looking on paper and it looks absolutely fantastic. The other side is return on time invested, ROTI. And it's that ROI number divided by the number of hours invested. And I would say that from an ROTI perspective, C and D class, you're going to invest a whole lot more time. You're going to have a worse tenant base. You're going to have more headaches. You're going to have more things break. And in the grand scheme of things, you're going to have a lot more ups and downs because a water heater in a $200,000 house costs about the same. It might be slightly different as it does on a $100,000 house. And so you're going to have very peaky type of month there within the C class. For myself, I am, at one point in time, I was definitely optimizing for that ROI. I was willing to take those headaches. My life has gotten more complicated. I've got a 9-month-old who I want to chase around and I've got a couple other business interests. So for me, I'm looking to transition away from those C class. That doesn't mean that they're not viable. They're not viable for me and where I am in my investing today. So
That's interesting.
I think that's kind of, I don't ever want to say you should ever write off an asset class altogether, but you should understand kind of what you're optimizing for in that asset class. I'm trying to move up. I want more B plus A class stuff because while the ROI sucks by comparison, never have to worry about it. It's easier tenant base.
Possibly more appreciation though.
Potential, more from a dollar perspective, not necessarily from a percentage, but definitely from a dollar perspective. You're not wrong. You might be right on the percentage. I haven't really done that analysis.
Fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, kind of circling back to the short-term side, what's your guys' take on short-term? I've obviously done some research recently. I can go on a diatribe for a while, but what's your guys' perspective there on the short-term in the Indian
I would
market?
let you two kind of dive in on that because I don't have a ton of input at the moment.
Yeah.
As far as owning or selling, I think most of our wholesales have not been short terms.
Yes, have not.
Yeah, especially Class C. It's challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I can. Yeah, go, why don't you kick it off and then
because I don't want to get overshadowed by your analysis. No, what I'm seeing. So I'll speak from a first person. I have just 2 units. They're actually probably Class C, B minus. Surprisingly, they're more budget options. I decided to get in. I'm really early in my investment career. I think I started in 2021, so I'm still not even 3 years. Yeah, so I started with more budget, cheap, basically cheap options. I'm trying to get into that luxury market slowly but surely. But what I'm seeing on that side is summer months being really strong and neat, and I think getting better and better despite the supply increasing. Indianapolis is one of the largest city that has no restrictions, no permitting, no restrictions. Carmel does, but Indy doesn't, and we are one of the largest metropolises that doesn't. Which could that change in the future? Maybe, but yet to date they have not introduced any legislation because there's not enough hotels. So I know from sources pretty high up that they like the short-term rentals because it allows for more tourism, cheaper stays, just overall better for the indie tourism. So I'm seeing the summer months be really strong on Airbnb, which is the main platform by far and away. And then in the winter months, I have heard now from a handful of investors, it has been extremely challenging if you're trying to make an Airbnb to even cover the mortgage PITI. Unless you have a really optimized asset, which would be you fit a specific purpose and need. Like, let's say your 5 bedrooms have a huge head count and you can fit multiple families, you're close to downtown. Or you're a 1 bedroom, perfect optimized asset with a cool theme in a specific area that's walkable. You're going to be doing really well, probably year round.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're unoptimized and you're just kind of like an average asset and an average Airbnb, you're going to struggle in off months tremendously. The one relief, I think, is that medium term option.
Mm-hmm.
The medium term option, I think, is huge to cash flow still, not as good as on Airbnb. I get better returns being on Airbnb. Like on one single family house, on Airbnb, I'll make $2,200 to $2,500 on a good month. Whereas medium term, I'm $1,650.
Yeah.
But my mortgage on that house, because it was a pretty cheap house, is like $900. So I'm still cash flowing regardless. But that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. I can't argue with that in the slightest. We are actually seeing supply start to fall a little bit.
Are we?
Yeah, we are.
What is your source? Not a challenge. I'm just like, where do you get this info?
So it's on Price Labs, actually.
Okay.
Which I highly recommend anybody who's on Airbnb use Price Labs. We are starting to see a dip in the total number. Now, what essentially I believe happened is COVID happened. Nobody wanted to go to a hotel. Nobody wanted to be next to each other. And that pulled up demand for Airbnb, which meant that everybody and their mom would put their property on Airbnb because it would rent out. And once hotels kind of opened back up, like people were a little less afraid of COVID, the low end properties, I think, suffered the most from that because those are the most replaceable by a hotel. So
they were literally the same price.
They were the same price, and oftentimes a little bit more expensive because of the cleaning fee. But when you really think about it, a hotel, they've got, a cleaning staff that's in there, and it doesn't cost them, $150, $100 to clean that place. It costs them significantly less because they've got a staff and they've got economies of scale there. Whereas us investors, we kind of have to have somebody come out to our house unless we've got a boutique hotel or something like that. So with that in mind, what we've started to see is a push back to hotels a little bit because there's a more consistent quality that exists at the hotel front. Now, the examples where I think Airbnbs can do very well are in the larger guest count, like we were talking about, because there aren't a lot of hotels with 4 bedrooms or whatever. You
can actually pay less if you're high head count.
Per head, yeah.
Per head.
Totally. The other thing is, there aren't like good meeting opportunities. That's what we tend to find within our Airbnbs is people are doing like family get-togethers where they're all coming together in our location for the larger units. We've got one down in Bates Hendricks starting to do really well right now for that reason, in addition to being close to downtown. But just to touch on what you said, the midterm rentals have been doing very well as well. I'll actually say Airbnb is a great platform to find those midterm rentals. We actually just got in our Noblesville house, which averages about $150, $200 a night when it's occupied. That's not, every night. We just got a month and a half looking for like $8,000 through Airbnb.
What do you do to attract those longer stays on Airbnb?
So you have to have the discounts, the month-long discount, week-long discount, stuff like that in place. And just what I think a lot of people don't do effectively on Airbnb is beg for reviews. Like we have an automated system. We only talk to about 1 out of every 5 tenants that come through our place. But like throughout the entire process, we're saying like, hey, we hope this is a great experience. Like we have multiple touch points. And then towards the end, we're like, hey, like if there's any reason this isn't a 5-star review, please let us know in advance.
How many Airbnbs do you have?
6.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you certainly know a lot more than me about Airbnbs. I'm learning a lot right now. Be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, and could you also touch on what a midterm rental is for anybody who doesn't?
Yeah, no, it's a really good
difference between that.
It's a good point. Yeah.
It's a good distinction, and it's blurry. So I don't want to say like there's not like a hard and fast like, hey, this is
easier if it is a travel nurse because they have usually a 90-day contract.
Correct. But so short terms are usually anywhere from 1 night up to about 30 days on average. Midterm rentals tend to be 30 days plus. there are lots of reasons why short-term versus midterm, why you might want to do them. Short-terms tends to be optimized per night, but you tend to have more vacancy. Midterms, you tend to have less vacancy, but you make less per night. The other reason why you might consider a midterm rental is, for instance, two of us live in Carmel here. We're not allowed to short-term rent in Carmel. You can midterm rent because you have to have a stay longer than 30 days. So that's
I believe you can if you get
owner occupied. Carmel was a pain in the ass to short-term.
Well,
Yes,
sure.
Regardless, I'm not going to argue with
They actually probably the north side. I don't know this from a first-person perspective, but from a analysis when we put offers on properties in the north side, I think the north side is undersupplied short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Wholeheartedly agree.
It's just Hamilton County is blowing it up.
Oh yeah,
fastest growing county in Indiana by a long shot, honestly.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that's kind of the difference between short-term and midterm. And it gets blurry. Like for instance, when somebody books a month and a half stay on Airbnb, is that a midterm rental or is that a short?
I thought the difference was, is there a lease? Because I do leases if it's 3 month stays, 90 days.
Yeah, I mean, I would in those situations. Usually, those come through different platforms than Airbnb, though.
Yeah,
but if somebody books a month and a half, like I consider that a midterm stay.
Yeah.
And Price Labs can do.
Yeah.
What I love about Price Labs, it's about $20 a property.
Yeah,
Price Labs
real quick.
Yeah, Price Labs is a pricing platform that uses AI to help you optimize your pricing and availability of your Airbnb property. But what I didn't know about until I watched a handful of YouTube videos on it is you can do minimum stay. So if you're 60 days out, you can say, hey, you have to book for a month or 2 weeks. If you're 30 days out, you have to stay for 4 days. If you're 2 days out, you can stay for 1 day.
Yeah.
And that's what I do now.
Yeah. Because each day is a banana. Though the way I describe this, I'd use it for our wedding venue as well. Each day each night is a banana.
You use Airbnb for wedding?
No. But the analogy I use. No, God no. And so, each day is a banana, and the closer it gets to that day, it gets browner and browner, and eventually that thing's going to spoil. So you're willing to take almost anything at the end in order to.
But the further out, let's just say you have someone, Taylor Swift concert is in August. They book one night. Boom. Okay, whatever. You got $600. But if you would have had that requirement, you might have had someone staying for 4 days, $600 each night.
Yeah. Or $400 a night.
Yeah.
Then now you're not going to get that. So no, I think you're totally
Price Labs is huge.
Yeah. Price Labs is an absolutely awesome tool. Guesty is the client management software we
use it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And
so we, by we, I mean the management company.
So actually, let's talk about that. Yeah. So what management company are you talking about?
So, me and 3 partners have started a management company called Birdie LLC. The name kind of harkens to birds, like an owl, watch over a property. Mm-hmm. So we're like that person, especially if you're out of state, but even if you're local, you're probably not at the property daily. We're watching over that property to ensure the investment success there. And we manage both STR, short-term rental, and MTR, medium-term rental. And one of the, I think, differentiators about us is all of the partners own Airbnbs. We have 11 between us, possibly 13 in the next month. And so we created this for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we were like, damn, we just need a management company for ourselves. Why don't we systematize this? Oh, we might as well offer this to other people who are looking to have a short-term rental in Indianapolis. So that's kind of what it is. If you have more questions,
that's always the best way to grow businesses.
Yeah, we're just scratching our own itch.
Yeah. So what's you had built it to scratch the itch. That's how my construction company started. I'm pretty sure that's how VR of Indy started.
It's the best businesses are all.
I wanted to buy some houses.
Side of it.
Yeah,
it's literally the best businesses are always that.
So then, from a high level, you don't necessarily have to give percentages, but
sure,
if somebody
can.
Well, if somebody wants to come and work with you, what should they expect from like a business practice working with you, like business fees, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'm always going to approach anyone who I work with in real estate from like a personal consultant lens first. I'm never backing someone in a corner and forcing a product down their throat, whether it's a home or a management service. So what I would do is like, what is your goals in real estate? to assess if they even should be a short-term rental investor. Number one, 50% of people who get into short-term rental investing probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
They don't realize that it's a hospitality business and very hands-on.
Yeah.
So unless you're trying to scale that, you probably shouldn't even mess around with it unless you're okay with one and let it sit and ride for a while.
Yeah.
If you're just like I don't want to say not ambitious, but if you're like, cool, I have 1 or 2 short-term rentals, let it ride, that's fine. But most likely you're going to want a manager doing that day-to-day guest interaction and turning, which is what we exist for.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we will set up a consultation with them, see what their goals are, and then explain what our services are. And we have someone that can do the design and furnishing component for a fee, of course. I mean, you're paying for that time and fees. So we will furnish it, and then we will set up the listing advertised with someone that's already a superhost status. They will be your operator, meaning it'll be listed on Airbnb. And if we're doing that medium-term strategy, which we will consult with you about, if that's the route we think this asset will do the best with, we'll also put it on Furnish Finder, which is where most of those furnished longer-term stays are. And we will rent it out, and then we will ensure that things go smoothly. It's turned and cleaned professionally, and then we will ask for reviews in a authentic way to get those 5-star reviews to boost it up on the algorithm.
Yep.
It's pretty much the service we provide, which is exactly what we were doing ourselves as owners. We're just offering it now as a service, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like there's some type of setup fee to get the place outfitted. Obviously, you need to do that. It's not as easy as just painting the walls. You got to actually put beds and stuff, decorations in there. What? You can sleep on the floor. But so from a service with you perspective, after that point, you're generating $10,000 a month worth of revenue. Mm-hmm. What type of management fee are we talking about, or is it tiered? How's that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have assessed a lot of options, and we and just be transparent. We at first were like, hey, if it's medium term, it's tenants staying longer, we should offer a lower amount, closer to that 10% for long-term rentals. And we really tried to make that work. What we found is it still work. You're finding this travel nurse, you're hunting them down, you're writing up a lease, and then you're managing that stay and cleaning it after. So what we have found is a simple model works best, which is our rate, sticker price is 20%. Okay. If that investor is like, ding, those numbers don't work for me, I can't do 20%, we will make it work within reason. And I'm saying this cautiously because now I'm blasting it out to the universe. But because we want it to be a personalized service, like if it's like, hey, 18% is what I can make work, cool. We don't want to handicap ourselves and not take action and do it together. If it's 18%, that's fine. But 20% is what the value we feel like we provide. And we feel as though with 20%, we can maximize your revenue. We're bought in. We want to maximize what that 20% is. We want full vacancy as much as possible. The highest booking rates.
I feel like you're making up a 20% for them.
I absolutely do feel like
doing it on their own, they wouldn't get that extra.
Let me tell you guys, as somebody who self-manages many Airbnbs now, 20% is cheap to not have to deal with the amount of
it's a lot of work
that's required.
It's a lot of work
because it can go up to like what 30-35%.
I've seen 35.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lake Tahoe. Like I have a buddy of mine who manages a lot out there. It is the normal's 35% or 35%.
Jeez,
and it is a lot because every weekend you're going to have a guest, and they might have individualized questions that AI or an automatic response possibly can't answer, and you have to have a person there. Yeah. And to pay for that is going to be money.
Yeah.
And so we feel like 20% is the rate where we are bought in to be the best service we can be.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think that feels like a totally fair rate. A lot of people that are more on the long-term side probably hear 20% and they're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but that's so hot. But it's a different.
But it's like you're going to have 2x the revenue, hopefully more.
Probably more.
Probably more.
Totally depends on the property.
That's the goal.
And fundamentally, there's the difference. When you're in a long-term rental situation, you get to do some ass kicking. People don't pay. Versus if you are on the short-term side, you got to do ass kissing the entire time
You're
because
It's an ass kicking business.
Yeah.
Ass kissing. Yeah.
ass kissing
It is.
for sure. Because
So that's the bourbon.
Yeah.
Blurred.
the
hospitality business.
yeah, the hospitality.
It is.
The tenant can ruin you with a 4-star review. So
Yep.
a 4-star review is a fail. So you need to be out there
Yep.
and earning that 5-star on a per booking basis.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we are scaling it up. So we plan to, again, this may be the bourbon speaking, so whatever. But I think we're starting locally with like, hey, we got to prove ourselves in Indy, but our goal is to go pretty big. And one of my partners, his name is Maxwell. He's from Arizona, and he definitely plans to bring it there. So the model we have, I think, can work with more than just this market, but we're like, hey, Indy is a solid market. Why don't we prove ourselves here and then see what we can do?
Yes.
Awesome. If somebody wants to start and get hold of you to
Buy some houses.
buy some houses, start managing their portfolio or their short-term rental portfolio or anything like that, how can they get a hold of
I think the best thing to do would be either search my name, Tyler Lingle, on Google. It'll be like my profile or my website. And there's literally a huge button that says book a call. Just book a call. Or find me on Instagram or Facebook. Preferably Instagram is probably where I'm most active, which is Tyler_Lingle. So
Love it.
I'd love that.
Awesome
Love to
stuff.
connect with anyone.
Big.
Well, thank you guys for having me
Yes,
on.
yeah.
This is I love what you guys are doing in terms of bringing value to the indie investor community. I feel like we have something special happening in Indianapolis, and I know the indie investor pod kind of paused. I feel like you guys are the ones to hopefully carry that torch and provide value to that investor community.
As soon as we figure out our technical issues and where we're going to live long term,
That's
we'll be ready.
But also, I think we're probably going to get a lot more views on this one because Taylor Swift made an appearance and had a nice little shout out. So
Automatically algorithm.
skyrocketed. So
Yeah.
awesome. Cool.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you, Tyler.
Cheers.
Dude, you can't cheers with your.
Sure.
There you go.
There.